This is Scott Welch, Muscle Insider Magazine. We are here with Canadian IFBB pro Zane Watson. How are you doing today, Zane?
I'm good. What's going on?
Listen, we haven't heard much from you. What have you been up to? I mean, everybody's fans are wondering. In 2020, we didn't see you on the Olympia stage.
Yeah.
What is going on with Zane Watson?
Well, I was initially planning to take all of 2020 off, which kind of worked out with the pandemic thing, but I was planning to take it off just a year to grow. I did four or five shows in 2019, so I was a little bit worn out, so I figured I'm just going to take the whole year off, have a rest, and then come back in 2021.
Okay.
And that is what I did. It just kind of worked out that nothing was going on in 2020 anyways.
Now, you come from a bodybuilding family. Your mother and father were both competitive bodybuilders. How did you get started in the bodybuilding?
You know what? I think I was about 19 and I just started. I was pretty late, actually. Considering I came from a bodybuilding background, I was pretty late. I was about 18 or 19 years old, and I just started to get into it with my dad. He started training with me, and one day he was like, "Hey, want to do a show?" Sure, no problem. And we trained for that show. I think we got ready for it in 8 weeks, and we walked into it. That was back then it was a level 1 show. It was Stratford, Ontario, which I won that first in overall. So, and then we went from there.
And then 2013, you won the CBF Nationals, and that's where you turned pro.
Yeah, so it took me. I did my level 1, level 2 same year, and then I did the Nationals. I did the Nationals 3 times.
Wow.
I won it the second time I did it, but I didn't win the overall.
Yeah, that was the days, when you had so few pro cards in Canada with this.
Yeah, I think I had basically you had one opportunity, and two pro cards were given away that year. You could do the North Americas too. I never did that show ever.
Okay, now obviously some of the things that we know you as is obviously hardcore training. Obviously, you're kind of that blue-collar champion that from Hamilton, Ontario. But posing has been a thing that you're known for. In fact, we've all seen the videos, the photos with Arnold himself doing the selfie in front of you as you're doing your posing routine. And how important is posing to placing from your experience?
So the only time that I feel posing had an outcome really on my placing was the Arnold Classic. And I think it was even stated that posing was worth 30%.
Wow.
Which I feel it should be, because, I think it's a big part of bodybuilding, how you display, the hard work you've done. You work so hard to look that way, and then it's over in a matter of minutes. And, those few minutes that you get to be by yourself and show everybody, not just that you've worked on your muscles, but your performance and your, how you display it. It's super important to me. So I really like that. I always say that Arnold Classic, that's the best show. That's my favorite show I've ever done. I've done the Olympia 3 times. And that Arnold Classic, I think probably for that reason, not just that reason, but that's a huge part of why I like that show the most, because, I went into the night show and, we all know that the show is picked in the morning. The judges already have their minds made up. By the time you step on stage at night, they already know who's coming, first, second, third. Usually, if it's really close, it can come to the night, but, it's pretty determined in the morning. So I went into the night show. I was not top 5. No way. And I was probably 7th. And, after the night show, and, I got a lot of great response from Arnold. He definitely pushed me. Definitely it pushed me up in the. I made 2 places, I think, at the Arnold at night show, so that was really nice. And
When
I
you were
looked better too, which that happens a lot, especially in the 212 class when you're cutting the weight. You you look okay in the morning, and then most likely by night you're looking better.
What did it feel like when you're standing on stage at the Arnold's, looking out? You know it's live streamed. You know that people all over the world are there, and then Arnold, the most famous bodybuilder in history, stands up, turns
Yeah.
himself backwards, and does a selfie with you in it. When you were posing, were you like, "Holy shit! Like, how is this? What am I? Did you lose your routine in your head, or like, what happened?"
So I can watch that video, and there's one part in that video after he took the selfie of me. I get goosebumps thinking of it. And after he took the selfie of me, and then I went into this overhead pose, and I swear I almost passed out. I was so close. I remember I went black. I had goosebumps. I had pins and needles, and I almost blacked out. And when I watched that video, I can remember it like I was there every time I see that part. It's so funny.
Wow. Did you get a chance to talk to him a bit afterwards?
Yeah, I did cardio with him in the morning, and I had breakfast with him the day before, which was pretty cool.
Wow.
I didn't really have breakfast with him. I kind of like snuck in there, stuck my finger in his eggs, and left. But
Amazing. And do you do posing practice in the off season? Do you do any of that, or is it all pre-contest?
in the off season is a time like I'll definitely do some homework on what song I want to do, how I kind of want to flow with my posing. I'll do, if you get a really good pump, of course, I'll do some mandatories in the mirror, but it's not really something I do routinely. Usually, but that being said, no matter how long I start my contest prep out, even if it's 20 weeks, 22 weeks out, I'll start posing right away.
Do you incorporate it into your training routine, or is it something that's always separate from the working room?
I always like to do my posing post-workout. It's something I've always done. It's something I've always done with my coach. Coach usually wants pictures at roughly the same time every day. So that's always after my workout. So that's just and I find, you're pretty much in a deficit by that time. So it's a bonus, any posing you're doing on losing fat. So.
Okay, 2020 Olympia took place in Florida. It was live streamed. You weren't on stage. What were your feelings when you saw the lineup come out? You saw Sean Clarita, who really wasn't somebody who was a favorite going in, getting all the call-outs, and then finally being crowned the winner.
Yeah, I picked him top 3 going into that show. That guy's relentless. He just gets better and better, and I knew, it's about, eventually it's just going to happen that he's going to end up in that 1-2 place. So, and for him to come out with a win, I really wasn't super surprised with it. It was a pretty good lineup. So, I wasn't overly surprised with it.
Okay. On your Olympia showings, you were 12th, I believe, in both of the Olympic contests that you were in. You've been at the Olympia, is it 3 times?
Yeah, 3 times. I always do shit at the Olympia. I think it's because it's at the end of the season. For me, I'm at the top of that weight class. So, my first show or 2 shows of the year, it's pretty easy for me to make weight, but I'm a type of person that grows into my competitive season. So, I don't really have that off season where I pack on a ton of muscle. My muscle gain is made through my contest prep leading up to a show. So, I might come into my first show at like 217 and only have to drop a few pounds. Whereas by the time I get to September, when the Olympia is, I'm like bone dry, no fat on me at 220 pounds. Having to lose 10 pounds in you know, 1 day, 2 days, and then try to put it back on. It always kills me. And you know, there's always that hype of the Olympia, so it's probably like a bit of a nervous thing. I don't know. The body doesn't come together as good. I'm not sure. The Olympia has always been a tough one for me.
What do you feel you need to do with your physique to get into that A tier area where you're top 3 at the Olympia kind of side? Because you're obviously in Canada, you're obviously the top ranked 212 competitor.
Yeah.
But moving into the US and on a global stage with people from the Middle East, etc., obviously knocking on the door of the Olympia, what do you think is missing from you? Is it just overall size? What are your feelings?
I don't think I can place top 3 in the 212 Olympia. I think I'm 5'8". You know, the guys I'm competing against that are winning, Sean Clarita's 5'0".
Okay.
He's 5'0". He doesn't have to change a damn thing. He eats and trains hard and goes right up to the day of the show, and only gets better by the day. Where, you know, I have to go from looking like I can win the Olympia 2 weeks out to changing everything and then trying to put a plan back together to get that look back, which always isn't ideal. So, you know, you have a fine line to nail it. And probably the show I've nailed it the most would be either Vancouver of 2019 or somehow I nailed the New York Pro where Sean Clarita actually beat me and took first. And that's the weirdest situation because, you know, you literally have 3 hours from the time you weigh in to being on stage for your callouts.
Wow.
Yeah, like it's not a lot of time. You don't. There's no refeed. There's you weigh in and that's how you look. So for me to come down and play second to him at that show, that was the hardest and weirdest look that I got on such a short notice.
Wow.
So to answer your question, honestly, I don't think I can place top 3 in the Olympia 212 class, which is why, you know, for the last few years of my bodybuilding career, I'm gonna shoot for open shows. Depending on how my weight is coming into a show, I'll fall wherever I go, really. But I'm not gonna struggle and pull 12 pounds and go into a 212 show to get 12th place at the Olympia again. That's for sure.
So open shows, we're going to see Zane Watson officially says open shows as long as your weight correct, you know, obviously cooperates.
Sure, I gotta do a couple. I gotta be at my potential for a few shows. You know, I don't feel like I've ever been as perfect. You know, I've never been able to nail it because it's always 8 to 12 pound difference that I'm gonna come down in a matter of 24 hours. So you never get that back. And you know, when I grow into a show, like I sit naturally very comfortably at like 240, 250 pounds. So,
yeah.
You know, I don't think I'm sure there's other guys that are doing open shows at 235 pounds. Dexter Jackson's won at that weight how many times?
Yeah.
Not to compare myself to him, but that's
sure. Yeah.
That's the right weight.
It's funny because Sean Clarita had talked about the prize money in the 212 and the prize money in the top 5 at the Olympia Open. And just
you place top 5 in an open show and you're winning the same as the winners of the 212 shows.
Yeah, you never think of this as a fan of the sport, and then when you hear
Right.
the competitor's side of it, it kind of makes sense to that. Now, in terms of statements, we hear statements like, you know, the pros don't train as hard as some of the obviously top amateurs. Who are the hardest pros you ever trained with in your career?
Like any pro?
Any pro. Or some of the ones that stand out in your mind as they really, really, really train hard? Because you're known for a guy who trains really, really hard.
Well, my principles of my training always came back to like the blood and guts videos, the Dorian Yates days, because that's how my dad trained me, and that's who he watched training, and that's, you know, the principles he liked to pick up on, you know, negative sets and one set sets that to failure. So, you know, that's something we picked up from Dorian Yates. I've never actually trained with Dorian Yates. But I know he trains like that. And like 212 guys, like I know Guy Sister Nino, like he trains like an animal. And Sean Clarita, I'd love to train with him too. I watch him train, and he's just pounding heavy weights all the time. And you know, it's not in a way where you would think, well, that's stupid, you're going to get injured. You know, it seems like it's always pretty controlled, and that's how I build my training. As a bodybuilder, you have to know how to grow and longevity. You can't get injured, so there has to be a fine line, right? Now, the hardest trainer ever would be who trained me last year's a good friend of mine, John Cardillo, and I posted a lot of videos with him, and he has his own principles to training, this high intensity training, and I've thrown pros through it too. It's just a lot of them don't come back. It's next level. It's super hard and definitely leaves you sore. And I think that's how if you really want to grow, you have to reach new muscle fibers, you know?
Yeah, I've followed John Cardillo's work, the HIT3 training system, and just studying it. And it seems like he's mixed up some of the stuff from, say, taken some of the stuff from Arthur Jones, some of the stuff from Dorian Yates, but then also some of the stuff from bodybuilding, where I think where Jones kind of missed the mark was he didn't really have enough variety of exercises that kind of worked for a competitive bodybuilder. Talking to Dorian Yates, and he said, you know, Arthur Jones techniques, he doesn't realize that bodybuilding is judged on the aesthetics. It can be the soleus is involved, the rhomboids, the spina erecta, you know, the bicep femoris, you know, all the different muscle groups that are there and the proportions. Whereas the basic HIT training is, okay, these are the number of exercises and they're very basic exercises, but bodybuilding is more than just about putting on muscle. You've got to fine tune the aesthetics of the small muscle groups. And I feel like John Cardillo's his HIT3 has kind of morphed a bit of the best of a lot of different styles, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, best of both worlds. The attention is definitely in the detail. For sure, it's the little muscles. That's where I always start everybody too, even amateurs, even like lifestyle training guys. I always start them with the little muscles.
Yeah. Have you incorporated any of the fasting that John's into? I haven't. He's really big into the intermittent fasting. Have you tried that?
Nah, he can't touch me with that. No. I've always worked with Chris Aceto, and you know, okay. Chris Aceto feeds me like I'm a 450-pound guy, so
yeah.
And he's under that principle where your metabolism goes faster with the more food. So, and you know, it's always worked for me where, yeah, I've seen this create. Hey, don't get me wrong, these fasting programs are usually designed to make people lose a lot of weight quick, and they've worked. I've seen John take guys down 30, 40 pounds in a month or two, and you know, it definitely works for them. It serves its purpose. I'm not against fasting. I think if I didn't always eat how Chris has led me to, I would love to not eat.
Yeah, of course.
I would love to eat once a day and fast. I'm sure it's something that I am going to try when I'm not competing. I would love to, because you know, food is everything. It's a lot. You know, people always ask me, well, what do you want to eat? What do you want to eat after a show? I don't want to eat anything. I don't want to eat for a month.
Okay, I'm going to name a muscle group, and I want you to tell me your go-to exercise on each muscle group. Okay, if you only do one. Okay, so let's start with back.
Deadlifts.
Okay, how about chest?
Incline barbell.
Okay, what about biceps?
I'm going to say a isolated spider curl, if you want to call it.
Okay. Okay.
Something over a bench with your arms hanging, elbows straight.
Yeah.
It's nice if your elbows are pushed forward so you can't bring them back. Yeah. A total isolation on the bicep, definitely.
Okay, triceps?
Tricep, dumbbell extension, overhead extension.
Two hand or one hand?
Two hand.
Okay, so together. Yeah.
For sure, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, and then how about legs? Obviously, it's kind of loaded because I guess let's start with just say, if it was just one leg exercise you'd be doing, what would it be?
A one leg exercise?
No, sorry, if there was only one exercise you could choose for legs.
One overall, you'd have to go with a lunge.
Interesting. Barbell or dumbbell?
I would say lunge, because I can target a lunge on my glute, I can target it on my hamstring, I can target it on my quad.
Do you use lunges with a bar or with dumbbells?
Doesn't matter, depends what the target, but I like dumbbells. I'll do a stationary lunge. I find that's really good. I love Bulgarians, like a single-legged Bulgarian lunge. I think that's the best quad exercise, best teardrop exercise ever.
Very cool. Okay, how about hamstrings?
Hamstrings, stiff-legged deadlifts, definitely.
Okay.
Make big fat hamstrings.
Calves.
Calves, seated.
Okay, seated calf raise. Okay, and then shoulders.
I like the side lateral machine. Like a machine, like an Atlantis side lateral.
Excellent.
I put a lot of strength and size on those machines once I got one.
How do you balance being a IFBB pro and being a family person, being a dad?
Yeah, so I don't know if a lot of people know it, but bodybuilding for me is totally a hobby. It's not about money. It's not about anything like that. So I've never had fitness sponsors. So it's about the people and my family, and that's why I do it, because my family gets to come with me. And my son loves it. This is my gym, and he's always here with me. So especially now, these times he's in homeschool, so he's at the gym a lot with me in homeschool. I got recess, he goes, plays with some weights, goes back to school. But the balance for me is pretty easy between father and bodybuilding, because bodybuilding takes an hour, where fathering would be 23. And usually in that 1 hour he's usually here. So it's a pretty good balance for me. And I think fitness and that kind of education is super important for kids, especially now these days. They're always inside. Now they're always on computers. They're playing video games. So I think it's important to embed that in their head, that the gym's important, your fitness is important, your health is important, because it's something, it's like being a product of your environment. I always saw it, and it just took me that way. It was inevitable. It wasn't possible for me to avoid the gym. I was around it too much, and that's how I feel my son will be. He loves it, so.
Now, your dad helped you build your gym, didn't he?
Oh yeah, we put it together.
That's crazy.
I was traveling. I was getting ready for the Arnold Classic show, actually, and we were training in Burlington. It's a city about 40 minutes from me, or 35 minutes. So, I was picking him up, driving to the gym, coming home. That was about a 3.5 hour thing. 3.5 hours a day, 25 hours a week. It was a lot. So I said, shit, man, we need a gym. And I had a business running out of the warehouse where my gym is now that I really wasn't utilizing for the business. It was more just a place for me to hang my hat. So, I just said, hey, let's just put the gym stuff in here. And he had some equipment, and I gathered some equipment. So, I got some oldies but some beauties, and then.
That's so cool.
He definitely helped me out. Yeah, that was
So this COVID lockdown didn't stop the gains.
No, I stopped training, and that's why I feel bad. That's why I haven't posted as much on my social media. I haven't been like, hey, this is what I'm training today. I stopped for quite a long time. It's just like I feel bad for everybody. I wish everybody could have a place to train. I'm super against locking the gyms down, so
Yeah.
we won't go there. But that's I feel bad for everybody who's lost that right or that ability to train at a gym, what they usually do, stay healthy. So
Okay, last story. Take us through New York City. You sharing a room with Regan Grimes and him trying to make weight for the men's classic physique category, which he won.
yeah,
I believe Chris Aceto said that was the highest amount of weight loss he ever had in the climb.
yeah, he lost 22 pounds.
Jesus.
I watched Regan Grimes eat salmon and water for 5 meals a day for 4 days straight. Honestly, that's it. Well, I was smashing burgers. So I don't know. It was I think he decided to do it because I had 12 pounds to go and he was coming down quite quick and he said, "Oh, well, I'll just jump in it." And we weren't really sure where his weight or where his height was going to take his weight. So he played the safe side of the height and weight cap for his class. And he made it. I think he made it within like fraction of a pound or something. He just cut it.
What can you do at that time? Like, are you taking sauna, like, or steams, like having hot showers to help you lose more water? Is there anything physical, or do you just lay in bed and wait for the body to keep excreting more and more water? Like,
Personally, myself, yeah, I sweat my ass off. I'll wear sweaters, and I remember the one year in Las Vegas, I laid outside with 12 towels, 4 sweaters on, under the sun on a lawn chair in my own self-made sauna, roasting away, trying to lose like 12 pounds. I take a drink too. It's like a magnesium sulfate. It clears everything out of you.
very small.
And then that usually helps me too. I don't know. Everybody has their own little tricks. Usually it's me sweating my ass off through the night. I lose a lot of weight at night.
Okay.
Like I have a 4 to 6 pound difference from going to bed to waking up. So that's usually where we base my weight off of, would be the morning weight. Because I know I can wake up that weight and hold it if I don't drink or eat anything.
Yeah. Well, listen, thanks so much for taking the time. If fans have been wondering what the heck is Zane doing, we didn't see you obviously last year. When do you think you'll be on stage next, or are you still setting your sights based on once you sort of have a better off season and decide, or where are you looking at for competition?
Well, I'm shooting for Toronto, which is August this year. That'd be an awesome show. Depending on the lockdowns, looks like we might have to do everything in Florida, which I'm cool with too. So if I gotta go to Florida for a show, then I'm cool with that.
So we definitely will see you on stage this summer.
Oh yeah, I'll do a show this year.
Excellent. Love it.
For sure.
Great. Where can fans see more of you? What's your Instagram handle? Because this can be on YouTube. This can be on Facebook.
You can Instagram me, Zane Watson. That's my primary social outlet. I'm gonna get back there posting a lot more of my videos, my training, everything. I seem to get a lot of positive feedback on that, so
Yeah,
I'll definitely start doing that. I usually base it around my contest prep, so
yeah.
you'll
Keep
see
inspiring all the people out there. I mean, everyone needs to see you training and get that hyped up. All the Canadians are wondering, what's he doing? And when we don't see the activity with the people we look up to, we just assume that they're as down as we are. But I'm glad that you're still training, and I hope that you can keep on inspiring us to keep on sticking with it, what we can, where we can.
Yeah, people always ask me, where you been? How come you're not competing? I'm like, well, there hasn't been any shows. I'm in Canada. I don't think a lot of people know that I'm in Canada, so they don't understand the traveling traveling restrictions that have been on, it's a little bit better now. So, you know, I'm sure everybody's I think it's gonna be a pretty cool year for bodybuilding.
Excellent. Okay, listen, this is Scott Welch signing off with Zane Watson. Thanks again, Zane. We really appreciate your time today.
Thank you.